landlords are having a harder time renting their apartment units today. And it's not the reason you would think because of price or inflation, although that is a factor, but they're maintaining these really old entry systems into the building, which they think are fine because they've been using them for the past 40, 50 years and they worked fine before, so why pay money to make a more modern, convenient entry now? And some of these people are building brand new apartment complexes and sticking the same old antiquated technology, and a lot of people are avoiding living there because there's so many other options with like key fob entry or using their mobile phone or some kind of touchscreen, something really easy to get in the building. And so that's what we're discussing today, because there are several different options. Some have nailed some aspects of the entry and they suck on another aspect, and trying to find ones that are great in like all the main areas is our struggle.
Right.
Welcome to our struggle, by the way. We're the security bros.
Oh Lord, don't.
The struggle is real.
Mein Kampf. That was
Really?
It was called My Struggle.
Oh,
that was
no.
his whole book.
9.
Jesus Christ. Okay, we've worked with all the top brands that do intercom.
By
systems.
top, what do you mean? Like they are the ones that get sold the most?
They're the popular ones. I'm talking the Butterflies, the DoorKing, Swiftlane. Do you have a favorite system?
Well, of course I have favorites.
You have favorites.
The thing is that I have favorite aspects of different systems.
Okay.
And the struggle for us as the installer is that you are better off picking like one thing and just doing a lot of that thing, because whatever you pick is going to have its quirks, but when you get used to those and you get used to mitigating those, then you can replicate that success across all of your clients. And picking one can be tough because they're not going to be great in every area. And so you want to say what works best for my clients. And the thing I like about the ButterflyMX system is that they do really great on the software side. So the software management side is great because they're maybe the only one that I know of where you have one login, like your email address, and then when you have multiple locations, you can you add that email address, it already sees you in the Butterfly system and then just adds you to that location.
So you don't have to like get an email, create a new login, email password situation for every.
Yeah, well, think about this. You might be a resident in an apartment building that has a Butterfly touchscreen entry.
Sure.
And then you may also work at an office building that has that same Butterfly entry. And so you can be added to both locations very easily. You don't have to recreate all your info over in this side.
Sure.
As soon as whoever manages it enters your email, it automatically populates all the information. So you have one user that might be attached to multiple locations. That's different from, say, Swiftlane, which has almost identical features. From a user point of view, it does all the exact same stuff pretty much. The difference is that if you're added into this location with Swiftlane, you're going to be have to put in all the information: your first name, your last name, your email, phone number, like any info.
Create
that all
a
has
new
to
password.
Right, and then you add them to the other location, and then what they'll have to do, and on their side is essentially they're adding I'm not sure what it looks like from a programming standpoint, but from a user standpoint, you're like adding that account into your thing somehow. And it's not quite as seamless. It's not bad, but it's not as seamless as Butterfly. Butterfly nails that, along with other things just about their software. I think their software side is better.
That being said, with both, the initial login definitely easier with Butterfly, but with both, they still have the ability, you have to switch between locations. So it might be in a little different places in the app, of course, but you don't have to log in every single time. Once you are logged in, for the most part, you can continue using that app. Every once in a while you get signed out, I feel like, but you had more issues with getting logged out more frequently, I think, than I did.
Yeah, I just did not find it, especially in the mobile app, convenient at all. You have to log out and re-log in, or so last time I checked, unless they made some change, I just did not find it convenient at all switching. That said, one thing I take into account running a business is, even though Butterfly is way better at that, is that even a problem for our clients? How many users are in multiple locations? It's pretty rare, but it does happen.
It might just be the property manager, something like that. So it's not all the tenants, maybe in multiple places, it'll just be the...
Which is why I don't hold that against Swiftlane when choosing like who to sell what to. Just because while Butterfly definitely gets this better and is more convenient for me, is that really more convenient for the customer? I like the form factor of Swiftlane better. That one does make a big difference. I like the shape of it better. It comes with some vandal resistance.
Yeah.
It just has a better look to me. It's more sleek.
I think it's sleek. The new Butterfly design is like real kind of like bubbly and round, which I don't think...
Very friendly looking.
It is. It's a friendly look, but I'm with you. I like just the very slick, just kind of rectangle shape that Swiftlane has. It's also very narrow to the wall, right? Butterflies stick out a bit, and they're angled.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't
like their form factor shape.
Because sometimes you don't have a choice but to mount them higher for customers, just due to maybe some existing stuff that you were working with. And with it angled in the new Butterfly designs, you cannot angle the cameras on them.
Okay.
Actually, any of these anymore, you can't angle the cameras. And if you mount it high and it's angled, sorry, I'm doing it this way, and it's angled like this, right, and it's already high, it's kind of pointing at the sky, like over the face. Right?
Oh, so you have to
mount it lower.
And it was supposed to be tilted so that you didn't have to kind of do like this.
Right.
Okay, so the concept was good.
Yeah.
Good idea. I would prefer the Swiftlane shape, but once again, in terms of what it does, same thing.
Right.
From my point of view, the biggest issue that I have with Butterfly is that their pricing is like this. It's like a roller coaster. Yeah. And they are not consistent at all with our pricing. And so with Swiftlane, because their pricing is very consistent, we end up leading more with Swiftlane than with Butterfly. DoorKing is old school. They've been around for 75 years. It's just telephone entry. The only reason they've recently implemented some additional functionality, such as people being able to buzz doors open from their phone, like from a phone app, as opposed to, I think they've added some video where you can see and talk, but it's not truly what I'd call cloud-based. They should have made a completely new intercom system design that competed with what people are going with today. Instead, they basically just tried to polish up their old system. And I think that's why people just are probably pulling out more DoorKings than are going in, from my perspective at least, because we remove a lot of DoorKings to install Butterfly and Swiftlane. But there are some developers that will still want to put in the old DoorKing. We won't put that in for them because we don't want to be associated with like old technology. The problem with the telephone entry systems is that they're so antiquated, and it's just not a normal way of getting into a building anymore. People
want to be able to see who's at the door, who their visitor is. They want to be able to create visitor codes for their deliveries and their DoorDash and all that stuff, where with these older systems, the tenant can't do any of that. And it's just not as feature rich, it's not as easy.
No matter what the features are, is it intuitive and natural for a user to get through the door? If you have to explain it like a hard sell to people, like, oh, but you can still do it, but like if you're having to explain it, you've already lost. It needs to be like simple and easy. Even if the features are really simple, I mean, there are some, like a new one we're looking at now that we're about to test out. Very, very simple. You can't grant visitor codes. It's literally just a directory intercom where the user walks up, scans there's a QR code, they scan it, they see the directory on their phone, like the website, they hit the name, it makes the call, and the person on the other end has a mobile app, the resident, and buzzes them in. And we want to test that out and just play it out. Is this really useful? It's super simple, it doesn't do much, there's no extra features other than you can see the video, talk to the person, buzz the door open. But it's not telephone entry like DoorKing. The crazy thing about DoorKing is even though it's very old tech, it's the exact same price, if not more than some of the cloud-based, at least for the device itself.
Right.
So it's funny how there's just certain things that make a product sell very easy or make it really hard to sell. And a lot of it has less to do with, say, all the features, and it's more to do with all of the things that are in the way of you making the purchase in the first place. Let's call it sludge that you need to get out of the way. Amazon has done a great job at removing all of the sludge, all this stuff that stops you from making a purchase, because everything's right there. You see the price, you can add to cart right now, you can order it, you can get it fast, like everything you could possibly want, tracking it, you can return it if you're not happy.
That's true.
They've made it so easy to buy stuff that even if you aren't a fan of Amazon, you are a fan of buying from Amazon. And so
I know people that adamantly have hated on Amazon and said, I will never buy anything. And on this day, they're buying stuff because they're like, I just can't compete with how convenient it is.
very convenient.
It's easy.
Right, and so when I look at something like DoorKing, even though they're a very old system, the one thing that they have right is they sell through distributors that makes it a lot easier for us to make that purchase, to buy a DoorKing, even though it's a very old product, which is why some installers still sell it, because it's easier to buy it than it is to buy a Butterfly or a Swiftlane, because when you go to buy a Butterfly or a Swiftlane intercom, you have to order it via email. You have to reach out, tell them what you want, then they have to come back with a quote. And then you have to reach back and accept the quote, and they might have more information for you to fill out regarding the location and billing info and all this stuff you have to give them over and over, and just to get one device. Whereas we could be ordering an entire project worth of stuff, electric locks and cameras and cable and stuff, including a DoorKing intercom, which may be very old, but we can order all the project stuff at one time. Easy, comes to us. But then but let's just say you order all that stuff, but you're getting the Butterfly or the Swiftlane system, you have to still reach out to them separately for one single device, and it's more work to get that one device than it was for me to order the entire rest of the project of all these different peripherals. They found a way to insert a lot of sludge that isn't there by default. And they don't realize it, obviously, but that's one thing that's going to slow their growth. If they're thinking what can we do to increase our growth? And they'll want to add more features and things that make it more sellable. And it's you actually don't need to make it more sellable. You just need to reduce things that make it not sellable.
Well, it's interesting because they do understand the importance of a good user experience, but they don't consider the
purchasing,
the vendor, us as the company selling it, they don't consider them a customer.
Right.
It's the next guy down the line that's the customer. It's the right. So they make a nice, pretty software, a nice mobile app and everything like that. And then when it comes time for the vendor to buy the product, it's this laborious task of buying it.
There's another one we didn't discuss, but it's very similar. It's called Akuvox. So a lot of people, if you've ever worked with Swiftlane, the Swiftlane device is actually manufactured by Akuvox.
Right.
But Akuvox also makes the cloud-based software. Swiftlane buys the unit, flashes it with their firmware to connect to their own platform, and they make a platform probably a little better, quite honestly, than the Akuvox, which is why you would use Swiftlane, but you will, of course, pay more for the device, because when they buy it from Akuvox, they put their additional charge on it. When we purchase from Akuvox is that they sell through distribution instead of selling directly, which either one would be fine. However, they're very limited in terms of the distributors that sell them. And when we've tried to work with those distributors are really hard to purchase from. So same thing ends up being the case where we'll buy all of our equipment from one supplier, fine, easy. And then we go to buy this one Akuvox device, and that supplier makes us pay via a PayPal situation. They'll be go to PayPal and enter this email address that's not even the company, it's not even linked to the company, it'll be some random other thing. And then they're let us know when you've sent it, and the code that comes back, and then they match the two. And it just feels so antiquated. It's very difficult. And the problem is that my staff, the people who do the parts ordering, they have the ability to order parts, but they don't have access to like a company PayPal account to order stuff. And so then I have to do it. It's such a pain. And I'm like, man, guys, like, what are you doing? It's the 21st century. Why don't you just have, like, why can't we just pay on your website? Or why can't you just have our credit card on file and then just run the payment like everybody else does? So that's the problem, is like you have these like modern companies, but for some reason their sales version is like really old. And then you have an old company like DoorKing where their sales process is actually kind of modern, but their product is old. And so I'm like, well, you tend to do the thing that's easier for you. So I'm gonna gravitate towards buying products that are easy for me to buy and like that aren't gonna be like friction for me.
I feel like our entire industry is kind of like that. The purchasing processes feel very antiquated and there's not simple. I would like to circle back to the intercom system you were talking about that we were gonna test with the QR codes. And I think it's a super awesome idea. I think it can be a cost-effective way to get more intercoms out there, you know, for the customer and everything like that. The biggest problem I have there is that while the directory is nice and that is the main feature you need for an intercom, I think a lot of people are expecting to be able to do delivery codes or let their UPS or whoever, you know, their delivery folks put in some sort of PIN code. And I've talked to that company already and I've said, you know, hey, this is something we should probably add to the platform.
Well, first of all, I'm sure they will add that to the platform. The bigger thing, though, to me is just the process of scanning and getting it on your mobile phone. Will that be just a bigger nuisance? It sounds like it would be really easy, but I can tell you, just going to say a restaurant, restaurants think, we'll put this QR code and it's great because we can make updates to our menu online and we don't have to keep making paper forms. And so it's just way more modern. However, I have yet to meet anybody that really likes doing that.
I like having a big menu.
It doesn't feel intuitive to use my phone and scan a QR code for the menu. So the question is, will this also apply to this directory thing? Because we've also found that people don't like using their phones to get into buildings. It sounds like it would be convenient using Bluetooth, just scan your phone like a fob. For some reason, when people have a fob and a mobile credential, they tend to leave their phone in their pocket or they're having a conversation, they like to scan their fob.
Scanning a QR code, having the intercom brought up on my phone, I feel like that would be great, that'd be fine. Do you think it'll be a problem for people that they don't have a physical device to interact with and that the tenants of that building have to have a smartphone to be able to use the intercom? Because we run into this sometimes where people, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to use the app, I just want to get a phone call.
That does happen. That's very rare. And sure, right now, if they have to have the app, or if they're insisting on getting the phone call, then they just can't have that particular system. Yeah. Simple as that. Yeah, it's like, well, okay, you'll pay a lot more because now you need like a $2,000 to $4,000 device at the front door instead of a QR code, which isn't very expensive.
You may want to please everybody. I like making everybody happy, but sometimes you just can't. So it just might, like you said, not be the system for you.
When I lived in a building that had the Butterfly system, I really didn't use it because if I did have a visitor, they just called me on my phone and I came down to the lobby and got them.
That's fair.
So I get it. If somebody only wants a phone call, fine. Then your visitors can just call you on the phone when they get there.
Yeah, they probably have a phone. Yeah.
Right. And then you solve that problem. But if you're like, oh, but I still want to be able to unlock the door remotely, well, then get the app. And it's like, oh no, I really need to unlock the door by pressing 9 on my phone. Okay, well then pay $4,000 for the device. Right? I was like,
how much is it worth? Yeah.
Right. What's it worth to you? Right. That's what that costs. Okay, so we've covered the QR code thing. We've talked about the other ones. What else is there to cover?
I think that was the main things we talked about. We talked about feature set. We talked about the logins being easier. We talked about the form factor. We talked about price.
One of the most important things we haven't even discussed yet is management of the system. We've talked about the user experience.
To be fair.
But one of the problems with the old systems is they're very difficult to manage because they're run on older software. One of the best things about cloud-based systems, one of the reasons that they work so well isn't just because it's different for the end user, but it's better for the people doing the management. And in this case, a lot of times that's our company, and a lot of times it's property management companies, but it's people in the background that are adding users, removing users. They can do it a lot faster. They don't have to send technicians out to the location like with DoorKing, where you have to like take down the cover, plug in a laptop, you have to drive all the way out to the site. You have to have like downloaded software on that laptop. And so if that laptop crashes, you have to make sure you download the software and get it set up again, and hopefully you didn't lose all of your accounts, because that's the other thing is you have to put in the account info, the username, password into it. It's not cloud-based. It's very old-fashioned. That costs a lot more money to people because there's going to be fewer vendors that can manage that.
Right.
And because of that, they can charge higher prices. And also, they have to dispatch technicians, which means you're paying per hour. And so if maybe we've had it where somebody says, can you do this thing on DoorKing? And we don't work on DoorKing usually, but we do have like a couple of really good clients that they use us on a lot of locations. And so they might have a couple that haven't upgraded yet. Okay, fine, we'll help you out on your old DoorKing. And then when that dies, they can upgrade to the cloud-based, fine. But then when we have to drive out to that location, they're gonna end up paying like $200, $300 just to add a user or just remove a user. That's a lot of money for a user when they could have had that done for free on the cloud-based system. That's why a lot of people are changing over, because it can be done faster and more cheaply. The only difference is that they will pay a monthly subscription, but that monthly subscription comes with a whole string of benefits that end up being worth it, especially because nowadays, people understand that everything is like subscription based. And the nice thing is you can also cancel that subscription if it's no longer working for you. One of the reasons, to go back to the beginning of the video, that a lot of people avoid going in and renting in some buildings is because it's just very difficult to get in and out of that building. It's not as, it doesn't have the nice, convenient security features that others do, which is why it's probably a good idea if someone's developing a new building to go ahead and just wire it up for the new modern systems, as opposed to still trying to stick old stuff in it just because they've been doing it for 40, 50 years. But of course, that's on them. Yeah. But I've seen that happen where they were like, no, like, they were like, we already have the software for the old thing.
Yeah, we've been working with this for 30 years or whatever. We want to stay with it.
I had a board meeting with a company recently, and that's what they wanted to do. They said, we already have the software. We already have Bertha over here, managing the software. They said, the only thing we want is to be able to have like the video aspect. And I'm like, okay, well, you can do that, and you can do that on the DoorKing, but I'm like, you still are gonna need different software, because DoorKing uses a different software to manage the video aspect. So you're still gonna have to get different software and learn that software, and it's gonna be a different model DoorKing to make that happen. And because it's not telephone entry, you're also gonna have to have internet, which you don't have to have for your other locations. So in other words, you're still gonna do everything completely different anyway. The only thing is, if you're gonna do all that, why not go all the way and get a truly like cloud-based, easy to use system?
Right.
But they're stuck on it being DoorKing because they already have DoorKing.
Oh, it feels like too much of a change to switch to something more modern. It's like, oh, we have to learn this whole new thing.
Which they're already going to have to do anyway with the DoorKing. The only thing is they just haven't gone all the way to truly cloud-based.
Right. And the thing is, for people thinking about switching from something old, the cloud-based systems are really easy to, they're intuitive. That's the word I'm looking for. You look at it, you pretty much can figure it out without a training lesson.
Well, that is true. So we don't have to do that much in terms of training, because when people get their invite to the system, we would know, because they would call us up, like, can you walk me through this? But since I don't get those calls and everybody's using it, clearly it must be pretty obvious how to use it, because nobody's asking.
Yeah.
And they're using it. So cloud-based is definitely, at this time, the way to go for newer buildings, but it's just one of those things that a lot of landlords have to figure out for themselves, because they don't want to make that, they really hate that subscription cost. And it's not that the initial product is more expensive than the older ones. It's that they really hate the subscription cost on the monthly, because they're trying to maximize their profit. And that's what like holds them back. But I also think that's what holds them back from being able to charge, like, say, higher prices for rent, or having trouble getting good renters, because people will pay more to be in a more modern facility.
100%.
But, you know, this was one of those things where, you know, I can't go in to a meeting and then like shove this down someone's throat. Like, I'm telling them how to run their business. It's not my job to tell them how to run their business. They got to figure that out for themselves. But what I can do is I can refer them to like all of the other properties and property managers and developers and landlords that have made the switch and are way happier. So something they can just consider. And it's like, would you like a referral? And you can talk to them and hash out the pros and cons, but that's up to them. And if you think that people should switch to a more modern, convenient, and secure entry system, why don't you like this video so we know, and share it so your friends know.
Bye.
And if you bathe in Vaseline, why don't you go ahead and like this video so we know, and share it so your friends know.